Hey everyone, I plan to post this video on all of the platforms that I can, maybe on Facebook, on Instagram for sure, on YouTube for sure. So if you're watching from YouTube, welcome back to my channel. If you're on Instagram, welcome back to IGTV. And for those of you watching on Facebook, hello, how are you? As you can see from the title of the video, we have a pretty serious matter to talk about today. I watched the Bikram documentary on Netflix over the weekend, and it left me just overwhelmed with sadness and just the need to come here and say something, because I just completed my teacher training in, was it this year that I technically got my teacher training, 2019? So I just completed my teacher training then. I learned about Bikram yoga in teacher training, and I had no idea. I don't think any of us did. I don't think any of the teachers even did. This book that we use in teacher training talks about Bikram yoga. Page 31 talks about who he is, his style of yoga. I searched him on Wikipedia, and he's published books, and his teacher trainings, one woman's testimony said that, there were 400 or 500 people in those teacher trainings. He had hundreds of people in classes, and he was an inspiration to many people, and people flocked from all over the country, from all over the world, to see this man. And we're taught that he founded a certain kind of yoga in this book, but nowhere does it say the predator that he was. Now, this book was published in 2010, and I believe that the first lawsuit against Bikram was in 2011, which doesn't even necessarily mean that it was made public in 2011. So I will give this book a pass on not being more transparent about who this man is. But we've all gone through teacher training and talked about Bikram yoga, and nobody mentions this part about this man. Pattabhi Jois is another one. People talk about Pattabhi Jois, and nobody mentions that he preyed on women. And it needs to be talked about, and we need to talk about it. I have a lot of yoga teachers, both that I work with and that I've just connected with online, both on Instagram and Facebook. My students connect with me here. Students that I haven't worked with personally follow me on Instagram, and this needs to be talked about. We need to bring this to the light, and it needs to stop. This man, Bikram, was training these people about this beautiful practice, and there's an element of deep trust that people have for their yoga instructors. People flock to yoga for so many reasons, but a lot of the times it is to heal, whether it's physical or mental. People come to yoga to heal. That's why I started yoga in 2015, was to find myself again, to work out in a way that didn't hurt and cause my chronic pain to get worse, to reconnect with my body. I had so much hate for my body back then, and I had so much just absolute disgust for myself back then because of what I had been through. And yoga brought me back to remembering that these things weren't my fault, and I didn't have to feel guilty, and I didn't have to be disgusted with myself because it wasn't me who did this to me. And yoga reminded me to love myself again, and to remember how powerful I am. And the teachers that I encountered at Pure Yoga in Boardman, Ohio, just paved the way for me to become the person that I am. And I felt so comfortable in the room with those women. And when they would do hands-on adjustments and they would put their hands on me, I felt a loving connection that I had missed for so long. And I kept coming back, and I kept coming back because these women were the first women to lovingly touch me in such a long time that I just wanted to come back and connect with a human being. And that's why people come to yoga, is to connect mentally, spiritually with a group of people and to have that loving connection with somebody. They trust their instructors. And these people betray that trust. And it's something that's finally being brought to the surface after so long, and it needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. As teachers, we have a responsibility to make everybody that comes into our room feel safe. We have a responsibility to make sure that our class is accessible to anybody that wants to be there. I came into teacher training after I started really doing yoga every single day in 2018. And I realized how much it was helping me heal. I had dealt with things in 2012, 13, 14. And it wasn't until 2018 that I finally started to put a connection with yoga is the thing that makes me heal and makes me feel better mentally, physically, all of it. My chronic pain diminished. My mental state was returning to a place of homeostasis that it hadn't been in years. And it was thanks to this practice, and it was thanks to my choice to make a change in my life and surround myself with good people. That's when I met my husband. Just changing who I associated with, changing how I allowed myself to be treated, and using this practice to reprogram my mind to respond in a way that made sense. And I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to teach yoga because I wanted to give this gift to people that had also dealt with trauma or were dealing with physical things. I wanted people to come into my room and know that they could be gentle with themselves if they needed to that day, or they could push themselves if they needed to that day. And there were all kinds of in-betweens. And there's no wrong way to take my class. And you should feel safe. And this is a space to heal. And that is why I came to yoga. And that is why when I first started teaching, I started teaching with these cards, these yoga flip chips. And this isn't an ad. This isn't anything that I get credit for by sharing with you. This is just simply what I have found to be my way of making sure that people feel safe in my class. Yoga flip chips are designed, one side says assist and is very, very colorful. The other side is much more minimal and says no hands on assist. So you can't get the two mixed up. I've used these since day one. I don't teach a single class without them. And if I forget these for any reason, if I leave them at home on accident, I don't even offer hands-on adjustments or things in Shavasana, because I don't want people to not have the power to change their mind at any time. This gives people a physical representation of their power, and it gives them the ability to see that this is their power in my class to make choices for their body. And I like to come around and let people know if I'm doing any kind of new adjustment. People pretty much know in my class, in child's pose, we're going to do a little adjustment. But if I do anything new, or if I'm trying anything out, I let people know, and I let them choose if they want that or not. Some people are all about hands-on adjustments, and they want to volunteer to kind of show the class what it will look like, and I'll even do that. People deserve the right to change their mind. They deserve the right to have the power to choose if you put your hands on them. And it's something that's kind of coming into the foreground, I think, more in recent years, how important it is to know if the person that you are reaching out to wants to be touched. Not just in yoga, but in anything. And it doesn't matter the intention behind your touch. For yoga instructors, for most of us, we are offering a healing hand. And for a lot of people, you might just be extending a loving hand to a friend or extending a hug to somebody that looks like they need it. But it doesn't matter how pure your intentions are. If somebody does not want to be touched, you do not have the right to put your hands on them. That is what this is about in the simplest form. Obviously, with Bikram and Pattabhi Jois, there were so many more factors and so much more malicious intent behind it, and it went much further than just that. But that is the basis of the connection that we establish in our classes. People have the right to choose if you touch them or not. And you don't even have to use consent cards. You can offer at the beginning of class for everyone to close their eyes, and if somebody doesn't want adjustments, to raise their hand, or however you prefer to do it, but something needs to be said, or you need to not offer adjustments, because all it takes is one little touch to startle somebody, to trigger a response, a post-traumatic stress response, and that's all it takes for them to not want to come back to yoga ever again. Such a healing and beautiful practice, that's all it takes. And as instructors, it is our job to make people feel safe. It is our job to make people know that this is a place that is not judgmental. This is a place for you to be you and for you to practice however you want to. It doesn't matter if the person that comes into your space looks like they can take your class or not. It doesn't matter if they come to a hot power class the first time and they're not very good at it. They're there and they want to be there, and it's not your place to say if they were good at it or not. Anybody should be able to come into any class and be able to participate. That doesn't mean that they should be able to keep up. If you're teaching an advanced class and a beginner walks in the door, they may need to take a break. They may need to find child's pose. They might find that they want to sit in easy seat and meditate the rest of the class after they get halfway through. Allowing them to make that decision and stay there without feeling judged. Somebody should be able to come into your class, and if they decide halfway through that they don't want to do anything else and they want to sit and meditate the rest of the time, they should feel like they can do that without being judged. It's as simple as that. And it's as simple as making sure that the people that you teach feel safe and feel comfortable and feel like they have the right to choose what happens to their body. It might not mean, these cards for a lot of people that I teach, they wouldn't mind if I used them or not. But there's one person that will come into my class at some point that has had that choice taken away from them and has had that right to choose removed. And they will be so grateful for these. And I hope everybody that comes to my class always feels welcome, always feels safe. And I hope that we as yoga teachers do better. I hope that we can all do better to change how we approach this so that everybody can enjoy yoga. And I hope that you all continue to live happy, live free, live well. Namaste.